Well, I'm joined once again by the wonderful Pete Baker from Life Church Lancashire. Hi, Pete. How you doing?
I'm very good, Nathan. Yeah, you okay?
I am, thank you. It's great to see you again. And we're continuing in this series on heroes, aren't we?
Yes, yeah. So last week we looked at Barnabas, the person of encouragement, and yet today we're going to look at David. And people who are familiar with the Bible, and even people who aren't familiar with the Bible, might know David. They might know David and Goliath. They might know David as the shepherd king. David, who wrote Psalm 23, maybe one of the most famous passages in the whole of Bible, in the whole of world culture. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. David, who showed his heart of worship. And I know when we spoke the other week, you said that when I asked you the question, who were some of your heroes? You mentioned David. So I'll flip the question to you. So why is David a hero to you, and what kind of example do you feel he sets for all of us?
Well, I think David's one of my heroes just because of how I mean, the Bible describes him as a man after God's own heart.
Yes.
And I think why the reason I look up to him, consider him a bit of a role model, is because of the way he just loves God so completely. And even when he gets things wrong or difficult situations, he turns to
Mm,
God and he proves to be a man after God's own heart.
mm. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I think he talks about that idea of him kind of dancing before the Lord, even when he was
Yeah,
undignified,
yeah.
and he didn't mind being undignified because praise and worship um, was more important to him. And what you just said there, yeah, a man after God's own heart. That's exactly the phrase I was thinking of as well. It's a verse in the Bible in the book of Acts, Acts chapter 13, verse 22, and they say of David that he was a man after God's own heart. And yeah, if you read anything about David in the Bible, you can see that he's not perfect. He's not a saint. He doesn't get everything right. And actually, that's where the Psalms become so powerful because these are written by real people in real places at real times, going through real stuff, making a real mess sometimes. And the Psalms are these kind of sometimes heart wrenching, sometimes heart cries, of people being open and vulnerable before God. But yeah, David's a hero, I think, because he has this heart of worship. He dances before God. He praises and has adoration for God. And I guess just a realization, most people listening to your show and listening to this station probably, tune in for the chat and tune in for the music. We're people that love music, and we're a culture that's full of worship. Even people who don't believe in God and don't worship God, we all worship. That's a part of the human experience. We worship. If you've watched any sport the past few weeks, you're seeing people lifting their hands and singing songs of adoration. That you're seeing people worship with the choices they make and the lives that they live, with how they spend their money, with how they cast their vote. Worship is a part of our everyday lives. And what we see in David is this heart of worship, this shepherd boy who becomes the king. And through all of the story, all the ups and all the downs, and there's some massive ups and some massive downs, through all of these experiences, David has this heart of worship. So my encouragement, I guess, for each one of us today, as we're thinking about David and thinking about this idea of being a person after God's own heart, a person who's an authentic worshipper, that today we think about, well, who do I worship? What do I worship? What do I put on the pedestal of my life? Whose is the name that I put above every other name? Who's the name that I exalt? Who's the name on my lips? Who do I lift my hands in adoration and worship and praise to? And of course, the encouragement is to put Jesus at the center of your life, to make Jesus the name that you lift high, to make Jesus the one that is on the throne of your heart, on the throne of your life. That it's God that we're worshiping, it's God that we're adoring in the high moments in our lives and in the low moments of our lives. So yeah, let's be like David, a person after God's own heart, a person that would praise and worship, even if it made him look like a fool. There's a tradition within Christianity about being holy fools. And sometimes our adoration and our love and our worship and our devotion of God looking so foolish that actually it's an act of worship. It's an act of holy. We this foolishness, so this holiness actually might appear like foolishness to the world around us. So yeah, let's be like David. Let's be like Barnabas, be a person of encouragement. Let's be like David and have a heart of worship, being a person after God's own heart.
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much, Pete. And I love what you say about David. You know, it's so true. I suppose the reason I respect him so much is because of the fact that, I mean, there are plenty of people who worship God, but he worshipped God with total commitment in the
Mm,
worst times and the best times. You know, when he messed up and when things were going well, you know, he still worshipped God. And that's like what you say, a heart of worship, which is amazing. And we all worship different people. We all place our admiration or our praise in different things or people. But
mm,
yeah, amazing. The way
yeah,
David just worships God. And even when he looks like a fool, he's happy to
yeah,
totally committed. So it's just wonderful. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
thanks so much,
Wonderful.
Pete.
Thank you. Have a great day. Have a great week.
You too.